In today's video, we'll focus on sexual reproduction in plants, including the role of flowers. But before we begin, let us first look at some key differences between asexual and sexual reproduction. In asexual reproduction, only one parent is involved. In sexual reproduction, two parents are involved. In asexual reproduction, offsprings are identical to the parents, whereas in sexual reproduction, offspring show variation from the parents. Asexual reproduction is usually faster, as seen in methods like cutting, layering, budding, etc., which quickly produces new plant. Sexual reproduction is slower since it requires pollination, fertilization, and seed formation before a new plant grows. Offspring from sexual reproductions have better adaptability to changing environment compared to those from asexual reproduction. Now that we understood the basic differences between the asexual and sexual reproduction, let us look more closely at how sexual reproduction takes place in plants. We'll begin with simple lower plants. Spirogyra is a filamentous green alga. Under normal circumstances, the filaments reproduce asexually by fragmentation. But when conditions become less favorable, they switch to sexual reproduction called conjugation. During conjugation, two filaments come close together. The opposite cells send out small outgrowths. These outgrowths meet and form a conjugation tube between the cells. Inside, the prothallus of one cell rounds up and behaves like a male gamete and migrates through the conjugation tube, leaving its wall as an empty cell. The prothallus of the opposite cell behaves as a female gamete and remains stationary. In the recipient cell, the two prothallus fuse and a thick wall zygospore is formed. When favorable conditions return, zygospores germinate and give rise to new filament. In ferns, sexual reproduction is more advanced, occurring in a tiny heart-shaped structure called prothallus. On the lower surface of the prothallus are present the gamete-producing organs. The antheridia produce motile male gamete, while the ARCHEGONIA produce the immotile female gamete or egg cell. In the presence of water, the male gametes swim towards the ARCHEGONIA and fertilize the egg inside, which then develops into young fern plants. Unlike ferns, flowering plants have developed specialized structures for reproduction, the flowers. Flowers are the reproductive structure of a flowering plant, consisting of four main parts: calyx, corolla, androecium, and gynoecium. The calyx forms the outermost whole and is usually green. It consists of the individual unit called sepal. It protects the flower in its bud stage. Inside the calyx lie the corolla, composed of the brightly colored petals that attract insects and other agents for pollination. Next is androecium, the male part of a flower consisting of stamen. Each stamen has a filament and an anther, where pollen grains are produced. At the center lies the gynoecium, the female part of a flower, made up of stigma, style, and ovary. Reproduction in flowering plants begins with the process of pollination. Pollination is a transfer of pollen grains from the anther to the stigma, and it is of two types: self-pollination and cross-pollination. Self-pollination is a transfer of pollen grains from anther to the stigma of the same flower or different flower of the same plant. It doesn't produce variation. Cross-pollination takes place when pollen are transferred from anther to stigma of different flowers of different plants of the same kind. It promotes genetic variation. Cross-pollinated flowers are usually large, showy, and brightly colored to attract pollinators. Self-pollinated flowers, on the other hand, are typically small and inconspicuous. After pollination, the pollen tube grows from the stigma and carries the pollen grain towards the ovule. Once it reaches the ovule, fertilization takes place. The pollen fuses with the egg cell present inside the ovule to form zygote, which later develops into the embryo. The ovule then develops into seed, the ovary becomes the fruit, and other floral parts gradually fall off. And that's how pollination leads to the formation of seed and new plants. If you enjoyed learning about it, then please like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.